Hi, welcome to day 36 of 60 Days of Inspiration with Kathleen Gonzalez, and we're studying Living the Sacred Yes, Affirmations for Action by the Reverend Deborah L. Johnson. And actually, speaking of Rev Deb, today and yesterday she had some amazing Facebook Lives about how do we talk to each other about what's happening with racial tension and changes that need to be made in a way that we can hear each other, because there's a lot of stuff that gets in our way of talking to each other. And even I found myself today having trouble talking to a friend of mine about this. And in the middle of that sort of texting chat, I ran across Rev Deb's Facebook Live, and I learned so much in that Facebook Live that I just sent the link to the chat and said, hey, let's go here and watch this, because I think this will help our conversation. So I welcome you to do that. I'll post a link in the comments, and hopefully you'll see that. And another really good conversation that I recommend is one that Brene Brown had recently. And I don't remember the name of the gentleman that she was speaking to, but I'll put that link in the comments as well. So today's reading, there is enough. My thoughts are contagious, spreading the good news that there is enough. Everything I say and do declares that there is enough. Rejoicing in my liberation from limitation, I proclaim that I am enough. I flow in a river of resources, completely engulfed in grace. I'm humbled by the sheer magnitude of good expressing in my life. With my attitude of unconditional gratitude, I consciously create the space for good to multiply. I bless all that I have and all that is coming into manifestation. My generosity inspires those around me and leaves a rich legacy for generations to come. Okay, there is enough. My thoughts are contagious, spreading the good news that there is enough. Everything I say and do declares that there is enough. Rejoicing in my liberation from limitation, I proclaim that I am enough. And I would have to say that in the middle of this difficult conversation I was having, all of a sudden, Rev Deb pops up in my Facebook Live feed notification and is saying exactly what I needed to hear to help me in my conversation. So I went back in that chat and said, look, I've been harsh in this conversation, and I just found out that's what I was doing. And I invite you to listen to this live that's going on now, because there's some good information about how we can talk to each other more easily. And so what that says to me really is that, here we go, I flow in a river of resources, completely engulfed in grace. I am humbled by the sheer magnitude of good expressing in my life. So how can it be that even in the middle of all that's going on right now, which is massive changes in the world, that minute by minute, day by day, I find myself having access to incredible resources. I can't tell you coaches that I have paid $5,000 or thousands of dollars to go sit in a room with them for 3 days are offering that same service online for $50. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like 3 days online with these coaches, for $50. And I'm like, wow. And it's happening over and over and over again. And today I had a coaching session with a coach that charges, I'm sure, at least $2,500 an hour for coaching. And I had an hour for free. And thank you, right? Thank you. I just so appreciate that these resources are becoming more and more accessible in just crazy ways. And I have a teacher that says, if something shows up, somebody wants to give you something, say yes. Say yes. Thank you. So yes, thank you. I'll take that. And so here we go. I am humbled by the sheer magnitude of good expressing in my life. And even in the middle of all this horror of what's going on, what is good is that I've been able to connect with my friends and have conversations and be of assistance and set my intention that things change. Somebody was saying, that we really need to imagine the world that we want. And I had a flash of how it could be that has been expressed before in terms of, how at the end of the Olympics, all the athletes come in, most of them, a lot of them are gone, but the ones that are there, they come in. And it's just like one big international party with music and everybody's taking pictures and going nuts and dancing and hanging out, And I just really thought, that feels good to me. That feels like it could be, our whole world could be like that. Just happy that, we've been kind of super bonded through some very intense experience where we've all kind of done our best, brought our best to the table. And we did that. And now we're celebrating that we did that. And some people won and some people didn't. And that isn't what matters, really. What matters is that we just brought our best to the table. And and everybody just gets to celebrate and play afterwards. So that's kind of my vision of how it would feel in the world that I want to see. With my attitude of unconditional gratitude, I consciously create the space for good to multiply. So this again turns into like an instruction manual, unconditional gratitude, with my attitude of unconditional gratitude. So that's how it happens. We harness gratitude, that sun, that big, I know I've said this, to me, gratitude is like the sun and it's hot. And you step outside and you think, how can something so far away be so hot? And it's always there, like every day it's there. And it doesn't, it's like, and all you need to do to get warmed by the sun is to stand out in it. Just make that decision, step outside the door. And so with that attitude of gratitude, with my attitude of unconditional gratitude, I consciously create the space for good to multiply. I bless all that I have and all that is coming into manifestation. And what's so exciting about change is that we can actually have change. Upheaval, chaos can result in really amazing changes. And so it's our job, really, to have these contagious thoughts spreading the good news that there's enough, right? That's our job. Here's our job. I bless all that I have and all that is coming into manifestation. I bless that, right? There's good in this. My generosity inspires those around me and leaves a rich legacy for generations to come. So my generosity, the generosity of spreading the good news that there's enough, the generosity of having an attitude of unconditional gratitude. By having that attitude, I'm being generous. I'm putting that, using my instrument, my being, to point in this direction of, let's have a big international like celebration party, and let's live like that. Be party animals. Right? That's what I want. That's what I want to do. And by setting that intention and putting my energy and being in gratitude with it, I'm using this amount of energy to move the needle in that direction. And what this says is that my generosity in agreeing to do that and making that conscious decision inspires those around me and leaves a rich legacy for generations to come. So what is your legacy? And let's start doing our legacy now. Right? Thank you.